Workers' Party Chief Pritam Singh says it's unacceptable that former MP Leon Perera was not truthful about his affair with fellow WP member Nicole Seah. Mr Singh adds that Mr Perera fell short of the standards expected of his party's MPs. Mr Perera and Ms Seah admitted to the affair despite denying it previously after a video triggered questions about their relationship. Tan Si-hui reports.
A media conference to end uncertainty and answer burning questions, triggered by this video that went viral. It showed WP members Leon Perera and Nicole Seah engaging in an inappropriate exchange.
Upon viewing the video for the first time on Monday, 17th July, I immediately contacted Leon and arranged to meet him in the afternoon. I also arranged to meet Nicole separately the same afternoon. Both of them admitted that they had an affair, which started after the general elections of 2020, but that it had stopped some time ago.
Mr Singh said the matter first came to light in late 2020. Mr Perera's personal driver had informed Mr Singh that Mr Perera and Ms Seah met often at restaurants and hotels and were seen hugging and holding hands. But Mr Singh said there was no evidence to support the allegations at the time. When WP leaders confronted Mr Perera and Ms Seah about it, the pair denied having an affair.
The constitution of the Workers' Party requires candidates to be honest and frank in their dealings with the party and the people of Singapore. Leon's conduct in not being truthful when asked by the party leadership about the allegations fell short of the standards expected of Workers' Party MPs. This is unacceptable. Had he not offered his resignation, I would have recommended to the CEC that he be expelled from the party.
Mr Singh and WP Chair Sylvia Lim also addressed questions why no action was taken early on.
As I mentioned in my statement, there were two critical factors which determined the decision-making process of at least myself and some of the other individuals that spoke to Leon. Number one, there was no corroborative evidence to support the allegations that were being made. Secondly, it was a single source who was an employee of Leon's whose services were about to be terminated. So in our judgment, it was most appropriate to speak to Leon directly, and the answer that he gave me, which I read out in my statement, suggested to me that that was where I was going to let the matter rest.
Questions were also raised about WP's screening process for candidates after losing 3 members over a span of 2 years. This includes former Sengkang MP Raeesah Khan, who resigned in 2021 after lying in Parliament about a sexual assault case.
You make decisions at the material time when you're fielding candidates, and you try your best to find out as much as you can about those individuals. However, you cannot legislate for what they will do after they become candidates. I think once you know that there are certain issues that have come up, then in good conscience I cannot field them as candidates again if I am aware of those facts.
When asked, how can WP regain its trust among Singaporeans, Mr Singh instead highlighted the role that the opposition plays.
Look, the important forum for the Workers' Party in gaining the trust of Singaporeans is Parliament. I think Singaporeans expect the Workers' Party to hold the government to account, to make sure that we don't have a one-party dominant state that is overwhelmed or overwhelmingly in the hands of the PAP.
Meantime, WP said it's making arrangements to keep serving Mr Perera's residents from Serangoon Division under alternate GRC. The next general election is due no later than November 2025.
Earlier today, Mr Perera submitted his resignation letter to Mr Singh. In it, he apologised for, quote, not being forthcoming with information when asked about his affair with Ms Seah. Mr Perera said he was sorry for falling short of the standards expected of him. He also apologised to the old unit GRC volunteers for letting them down. He said he will devote time to his family and address the hurt that he has caused to them. In her resignation letter sent on Tuesday, Ms Seah described her actions as selfish and reckless. She said she's deeply sorry for bringing disrepute to the party's standing and to its members and volunteers.
Questions over when WP leaders found out about the affair and what they did about it dominated the media conference today. Here's how the affair between Leon Perera and Nicole Seah came to light. Well, it all started when Mr Perera's personal driver told Mr Pritam Singh about the affair in late 2020. But Mr Singh found no other evidence to support this claim. Mr Singh then asked Mr Perera about the allegations. Mr Perera insisted they were false. Mr Singh dropped the matter, but the driver pressed on. The driver told the same thing to other party members, including Sylvia Lim, Gerald Giam, Dennis Tan, and James Lim. These members confronted Mr Perera. Again, he denied everything. The matter was laid to rest once more, and eventually Mr Perera fired the driver. Now, one analyst believes WP leaders should have probed further despite the lack of evidence.
When the party did question both Mr Perera and Ms Seah subsequently, they were also comfortable with the denial, from both parties, and this was despite, what appears to have been various sources of information, that suggested that there was something going on. So I think, this is not an obsession with details. I think it is important because they speak to whether, the party, when did the party know of the relationship? Did they do anything about it? Did they act swiftly and decisively? Or did they wait until, the video surfaced and they had no choice but to act?
The media learned from the conference that Mr Perera and Ms Seah had lied to WP leaders about their affair for years. Time and again, Mr Perera and Ms Seah made denials to Mr Singh and other WP members. Ms Seah later decided to come clean with her loved ones, according to Mr Singh. He said, quote, "The process of healing started with her much earlier after the affair ended compared to Mr Perera. He did not specify when either party told their families." Their relationship was exposed on Monday when a video of Mr Perera holding and stroking Ms Seah's hands went viral online. Mr Singh met Mr Perera and Ms Seah separately that very day, and they eventually admitted to the affair. Ms Seah resigned yesterday and Mr Perera quit today.
There was no reference to any particular timeline, other than shortly after GE 2020 and Monday when the video surfaced. So again, these are important points because not in and of themselves, but they speak to, whether the party has been accountable to Singaporeans, whether it has held itself to the same high standards, that it holds the ruling party. And again, for a party that has popularized the tagline, own self, check own self.
And all that, Dr. Tan says, points to a lot of work that the Workers' Party will have to do before the next general election.
I think it remains to be seen, to what extent the Raisa Khan matter, the AHTC litigation, and now, the resignation of Mr Perera and Ms Seah, it remains to be seen, how all this will impact upon the party. But I think, they certainly would rather not have to deal with this setbacks. And so I would say that, they may not be going into the next general election, in as good a position as they did, let's say prior to the 2020 general election.
Oh, he was a civil servant turned parliamentarian. She was the opposition's breakout star in the 2011 general election. Sherlock takes us through the political careers of Leon Perera and Nicole Seah.
Mr Perera's foray into politics began in 2013 as a volunteer with the Workers' Party. 2 years later, he was part of the team that lost the East Coast GRC contest after gaining just 39% of the votes. But it was enough for him to qualify for a seat in the House as a non-constituency MP. In the 2020 general election, Mr Perera was part of the team that retained Aljunied GRC. He joined the party's Central Executive Committee that same year. He also headed the party's youth wing until Ms Seah took over in 2021. She started her political career during the 2011 general election with the National Solidarity Party. At 24, she was the youngest candidate, winning many fans with her eloquence and poise. A few years later, Ms Seah left politics before joining WP in 2020. Although her team lost out on East Coast GRC in that election, the rising star was brought into WP's Central Executive Committee.